development here at the college, and pleased to welcome you to the opening for Women's History Month, 1992. Now, I know many people still are not aware that there is a Women's History Month, just as there might be people not aware that there's a Black History Month. And the rationale for each is similar. We celebrate Black History Month. This is my grandson. We celebrate Black History Month in February simply because the history of Black people has been omitted in the history. Likewise, we celebrate Women's History Month during the month of March because the contributions of women have largely been omitted in the history. So March is an opportunity all over the city. People sponsor events and do wonderful things just to acknowledge the contribution of women. Here at the college, however, we are fortunate in that our center sponsors events for women all year round, because it's not just, March where you cram everything in and then you forget about women the other 12 months of the year. So this is our opening event, and again, we correspond and overlap with Black History Month, so that Professor Yvonne Bennett, who is chair of the Black History Month Committee, sort of spearheaded tonight's program, and then the Women's Center we join in as we continue with women's activities for the month of March. So we'll talk more about those when we go on to the Shabazz Lounge later, the specifics of those events. But I just want to, again, welcome you and to ask you to really begin to think about the contributions of women. If we do our quiz, and for Black History Month and Women's History Month, and we say name 5 Black outstanding leaders, historical leaders, then you would say Medgar, Martin, Malcolm, maybe some others. Seldom would you name a woman in those 5, or if we say 10, you might have a woman, you might not. But we want you to change that. So if we say leaders, right away you think Ida B. Wells Barnett, Ella Jo Baker, other leaders in our history, but their stories have largely not been told. So tonight is special because we have photographs from the African diaspora, the beautiful photographs down on the mezzanine that you can come back and view at your leisure. Again, capturing the beauty, the essence of African womanhood. So we think it's a fitting way to start Women's History Month. We had a conflict with the president, who's always supportive of our center and the events, had conflicting meetings, and since we were late getting started, he had to leave. But he did bring his proclamation, the college's proclamation for Women's History Month. And I'd like a member of our committee, Elidar Barnes Harrison, director of the Tutorial Center, of the Learning Center, to read the proclamation from the college acknowledging Women's History Month. Ms. Barnes Harrison.
Good evening. I'm very honored to read this to you today. Special Presidential Proclamation. Whereas women have made significant and salient contributions to America and world culture and are conspicuous by their absence in the history books, and the women of this nation have historically rarely received individual recognition for their valuable work, yet we know that women not only hold the task for perpetuating the species and shaping the moral fiber of society in their hands, but have always been educators, inventors, scientists, authors, and the molders of consensus. And whereas women have been here as long as there has been a here, and have accepted the dual role of caring for and nurturing the family, while at the same time contributing to every facet of life, society, and culture, yet their stories have often gone untold, unmarked, and unheralded throughout the annals of history. And whereas, as we embark upon the curriculum of inclusion, we must begin to incorporate the contributions of women in our history to ensure that women take their rightful place and receive their rightful recognition for changing the face of society and the world through their contributions and their advocacy in every area of America and world life. And whereas to do less would constitute a denial of the ordained partnership that has flourished since the beginning of time, and to do less diminishes us as a people, a nation, and a world. And whereas, while others might continue to deny that women have contributed to and affected every facet, every crevice, every nuance of world life and history, those of us who are educators cannot deny this fact because the educational arena offers too much research and data that would condemn such a denial. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the month of March 1992 be celebrated as Women History Month at Medgar Evers College, and be it also understood that the celebration of that history propels us one step further towards recognizing that everyone's contributions are important and necessary if we are to evolve into a world society where everyone is judged by the content of their character rather than their color, religion, or sex, to which I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Medgar Evers College to be affixed this second day of March, 1992. Edison O. Jackson, President of Medgar Evers College.
So it's a wonderful proclamation, and we'll just make copies of it and distribute it throughout the college. It makes a good statement about the rationale, the imperative for Women's History Month. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Professor Yvonne Bennett, Chairperson of the Library Black History Month Committee, who will introduce our guest artist, Professor Bennett.
Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to Medgar Evers College Library on behalf of our Chief Librarian, who was unable to attend this evening. Dr. Alfred Fayemi, whose photographic experience spans 24 years, studied privately with Richard Sternsaus, Alex Harsley, and with George Tice at the New School for Social Research in New York. He has also attended numerous seminars and courses, among them at Zone 6 Studios in Vermont and at the International Center for Photography here in New York City. He is a member of Westchester Photographic Society, where he has won many awards in photography and photographic competitions. He has also actively participated in several activities of the Photographic Society of America. His main interests currently and in the last decade has focused on social documentary of Native Africans, particularly Nigerians, and of Africans in the diaspora. His works have appeared in private collections such as the Schomburg Center in Manhattan. He has also exhibited as a sole artist as well as with others. Some of his exhibitions where he has gone solo has been with the Greensburg Public Library in Elmsford, New York, White Plains Public Library in White Plains, New York, and the National Gallery of Modern Art in Lagos, Nigeria. On a personal note, I would like to add that this exhibit has been almost a year in coming. I don't know how Dr. Fayemi got hold of my name, but somehow he did, and he's been very persistent, and I'm glad he has been, in following through with information provided to us, along with Greer Smith, who's the executive director of Trans Art. They have really put together an excellent show for us. Dr. Fayemi, would you please come forward and bring a few remarks for us?
I'm not in the habit of speaking about my photographs, so this is an unusual experience for me. I prefer the informal conversations that take place where the photographs are exhibited rather than speaking about them. However, I guess this being a college, people are used to lectures and teaching and people talking to them. And I guess I have to say something. As Professor Bennett said, I've been taking these photographs in the last, I would say, 14 or 15 years. Originally, they started as, it started from the fact that each time I went to Nigeria, my home country, I found that certain things were disappearing. And I decided that maybe it was worthwhile just taking those photographs and keeping them for posterity. This went on and extended into actually documenting how people live their daily lives. I did this for maybe about 10 years or so, and I decided that maybe this work should be extended to other areas where black folks live. That took me to Jamaica, took me to Haiti, and recently took me to the island of Dominica. In all these places, I look around and see what exactly black people do, how they do it. And it is very interesting to see the similarity. It does not matter how far away and how distant they are from one another. There is a common thread which one sees in the way they do things. And these sort of things you see, mostly the simpler the people live, the more common bonds you find. There was an exhibition which I did about a year or so ago in New York, in which I juxtaposed a lot of photographs that came from different parts of where Africans live. And one really could not distinguish one from the other, whether they came from Nigeria, they came from Haiti, or they came from the West Indies. Quite an interesting study. Now, my photographs are really not meant to depict African culture the way they're depicted on the television sets or the way you read them in textbooks. I think there are too many cultures in Africa. There are too many ethnic groups in Africa that for one to presume to be able to photograph this will be totally pretentious. My photographs are just those of daily things, things which I see around. And therefore, they are really not, they're not an academic exercise. They're really more or less photographic essays of what people do in Africa or where black folks live. This is the first exhibition which I'm doing on black women. And I think, if you look through, you probably will see similarities in the way things are done in various parts of the world. Unfortunately, these photographs do not include African-American women. For some odd reason, I have not been able to take those photographs. They've been extremely difficult to take. I will hope that somewhere down the road, I will develop the courage to be able to take those photographs. As I said, I'm not a professor, so I wouldn't like to make a long speech. I would entertain questions. If some people have seen the photographs and they have questions, I'll be ready to answer some of those questions. In the absence of questions, I guess.
On the other side. We'll continue on the other side.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so conceptually, we had the first part of the event downstairs, the viewing, and the program is here, and then the reception on the other side, and we will continue on the other side with additional announcements about events at the college. And then if after you've had an opportunity to see the photographs, we'll entertain questions on the other side from the artists, like, why has it been so difficult to photograph African American women? So we'll continue the discussion. So we want to formally end now and walk across to the Shabazz Center. But before that, we want to just acknowledge the work of some people. Here at the college, we have the Women's Issues Committee, whose mandate is to look at issues affecting women at the college, affecting people at the college across the board, whether they're personnel issues, logistic issues, curricular issues. And for a couple of years, a group of women has been meeting regularly, working and struggling to bring reality to the understanding of women's rights as human rights. So I'd just like to acknowledge the members of that committee who have, again, for the past several years, really worked hard to do some important work. If you could maybe just walk up to the center as in the group as I call your name, and then everybody can give you a proper appreciation. This is the Women's Issues Committee for the college. Elidar Barnes Harrison, Yvonne Bennett, Martha Wright, Zala Chandler, Nancy Ole, Arlene Parker, Marlene Scabrani is here, Florence Hager. I don't think Iola's here, and Veronica Udell Galanya is part of the committee. So really want to acknowledge their work in Women's History Month and all year round. Professor Bennett, any other acknowledgements? As always, the staff, media services, buildings and grounds, reproduction, whenever we have an event, we call on all parts of the college family to help make it a success. And so we appreciate all of those we've named and all of those we haven't named. Oh, Trans Art with Chris Smith. Right. Who's going to acknowledge?
And her staff.
And her staff. And perhaps on the other side, we might want to say what Trans Art is. So thank you again, and we'll walk across the corridor to the Malcolm X.
Somebody went to India for the fest. Very excited. He was going to this great chunk of African. Thank you very
Okay, what do you want? You want any chicken? You want chicken? Oh.
First time I went there, I didn't know anybody. 1970. How are you?
So taking it upon small little college who are capable and that it's taken. So what I mean
você, um café no Chile.